Hesitate!
Gladiator II, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, and Paul Mescal, follows Lucius 16 years after the death of Maximus Decimus Meridius at the hands of Commodus in the Colosseum. Rome is in shambles as its tyrannical new emperors, the Terror Twins, rule with an iron fist. Guys, Gladiator is an iconic movie, winning Best Picture for the year of its release. My parents loved the movie so much, they named me Maximus. So if that tells you anything about my connection to the original. When I heard they were making a sequel, I was met with some reservations. I didn't think that the original needed a sequel, especially with its almost perfect ending, with Maximus sacrificing himself for the sake of Rome and returning it to the people. But once I heard Lucius was going to be the main focus, I was pleasantly surprised that that was the route that and the direction that they were going, but I was also met with some reservations as well about that. Guys, Gladiator 2 is an awesome movie, filled with action, filled with twists and turns that you never would have seen coming. The characters are so complex. I could have never imagined that going into this movie that I would be leaving feeling the way I did about Denzel's character, about Pedro Pascal's character, and for Lucius's character as well. Paul Mescal's performance was astounding. What they do with the Lucius character was very, well, predictable and unpredictable. I didn't know exactly what they were going to do and how they were going to explain the previous 16 years of Lucius's life. And the way that they went about that was quite interesting. And where the movie picks up is awesome and a great idea. It picks up with Rome just conquering lands, just going all out, taking land and taking prisoners. Hence why the Colosseum is filled with gladiators. The action scenes were quite over the top, though. It really seemed like the writers were trying to set themselves apart from the original. We have some water battles, some sea battles in the actual Colosseum where they fill it with water and they have two warships going at each other. Now, I know that this is historically accurate and the Colosseum did actually fill up with water and they did do this, but I feel like they kind of jumped the shark with a couple of these battle sequences. No pun intended with the actual sharks in the movie. Now, this isn't spoiler territory. This is all in the trailers. I won't be touching on spoilers till later on in the video, so you are safe for now if you do not want to be spoiled about Gladiator 2. I feel like Denzel Washington's performance is outstanding. I did not think that the story would go the way that it did, and that same sentiment goes for Pedro Pascal's character. Wow, guys. The range, the complexity of these characters in this movie is just something to behold. I cannot believe the actual stakes that they built in this movie, because I kind of thought that they were going to struggle with the stakes here, but by the end of the movie, the stakes are there. And you know why everyone is fighting and what they are fighting for. The battles are so fun to watch. The characters are so fun to cheer for. Guys, Gladiator 2 may not live up to the original, but judging it on its own merit is a great film. Out of 10, I rate Gladiator a solid 7.5. Go see it in the theaters. The movie is just a fun time, to say the least. That's going to wrap it up for my non-spoiler section of the movie. Right now, we're going to transition into spoilers, which is where the bulk of this conversation is going to take place, because I have thoughts about this movie and the choices that they made. So I actually struggled while making this movie with the idea of bringing up Lucius's heritage in the non-spoilery section. Yeah. The movie frames Lucius, well, we don't even know that he's Lucius until about midway through the movie. Well, through the story. I feel like us as fans, if we know the previous Gladiator film and we followed the build-up to the release of this movie, Gladiator II, we already knew that Lucius was going to be the main focus. So the way that this movie goes about framing Lucius as if he is not Lucius is kind of confusing and almost insulting to the audience, because I went into this movie like, okay, we're going to follow Lucius and he's going to wind up in the Colosseum and he's going to follow the footsteps of Maximus. And I don't know about you guys, but I read in descriptions during the making of Gladiator II that Lucius was going to be the main focus and that he was going to be revealed as the son of Maximus, the biological son of Maximus. But this movie kind of frames Lucius as someone else, as Vano. And he goes throughout the movie renouncing the name Lucius, renouncing his Roman roots, and actually avoiding them at all costs. As the past 16 years he has taken on a new life in Africa. But yeah, it was just very confusing the way that they went about the Lucius character. I almost feel like we should have been privy to the fact that he was Lucius earlier on in the movie. Kind of like how Maximus, we all knew as an audience, he was the general of Rome, but he was in the Colosseum battling with a helmet on. So Commodus and everyone else had no idea that the general of Rome was fighting in the Colosseum until he took off his helmet and revealed himself as Maximus Decimus Meridius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and he will have his vengeance in this life or the next. I don't know, I felt like we should have known it was Lucius, and the audience in the Colosseum shouldn't have known until it was revealed. I don't know if that's a nitpick or not. I just feel like the way they went about it was a little bit confusing. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But how about Denzel's character? He really brought it in this movie, guys. Denzel's character went from being the gladiator buyer, the guy who pits the gladiators against each other, to, by the end of the movie, basically the emperor of Rome. And his character did this complete transformation because I almost thought he was going to take after the original gladiator owner from the original, who bought Maximus and then later gave him his freedom, Proximo. But no, it was completely different. Denzel winds up being the true villain of Gladiator II. I did not see this coming. I honestly thought that Pedro Pascal's character, the General of Rome, would wind up being our main antagonist. But the story does such a great job of interweaving these plot points. And when I realized that Pedro Pascal's character was actually married to Lucius's mother, I could not believe it. And then we set up Lucius to want Pedro Pascal's character's head, and the animosity between those two because Pedro Pascal led the Roman armies into Lucius's new home and murdering his wife. Oh my god, guys, just the way that the story was structured was awesome. I don't know if I agree with the way that they handled the Lucius character and the way that they unveiled that he was the son of Maximus and that he was actually Lucius, like, as a big plot point, a big plot twist. Like, yeah, guys, we already knew that he's Lucius, son of Maximus and Lucilla. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. So, what Gladiator II did differently to the original, but also similarly, was the way that it handled the Roman people. In the original, it was always hinted at that the Romans were turning against Commodus and they were not happy with the direction of the empire. But in Gladiator II, we actually see the people of Rome rise up against the Terror Twins. We actually see them protesting and rioting in the streets and setting fire to the empire. So in this movie, we actually get to see the fall of Rome. It's quite awesome from a historical perspective to look at the fall of Rome in the way that Gladiator II depicts it. It's pretty awesome. We actually see the Praetorian guards holding bow and arrows to the heads of the Roman people, really showing that the people are rising up and they are really backing Lucius's character. And it really just makes you want to cheer Lucius on even more. Something I want to bring up before I wrap up here is the blood, the gore of Gladiator 2. It has taken that violence from the original and ramped it up. We see beheadings like the first one, but we also see sharks just biting people, tearing people apart. We see monkeys just shredding people up. We see a rhino totally gore somebody in half. The blood was taken to a whole other level in Gladiator 2, and it was just a bloody good time, guys. Gladiator 2 was so fun. It's definitely one I'm going to have to revisit. So yeah, I highly recommend the movie. Check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I knew if I was going to bring this channel back for any movie, it was going to have to be Gladiator 2. With me being named after the original and all. Thank you guys for watching this review all the way through. This leaves one thing left to say. Are you not entertained?